Welcome to my basement, everybody! I'm joined by my good friend Ben Silverman. You've seen him on Reviews on the Run. You've seen him on Electric Playground. He has worked with Yahoo Games for a long time. He's had a very, very long and illustrious career in the video game space. Everybody loves Ben Silverman, but I love him the most. And I miss him, and it's been crazy not to be making television every single day, but it is wonderful to have you in the basement, sir. How are you, my friend?
Well, you made me feel really old already, so I feel pretty crappy right now. I thought my gigantic headset was going to be the oldest thing about me right now, but no, you just made me feel pretty ancient. Other than that, I feel great, Vic. I feel great. I miss you.
I miss you too. That's a very esports headset, man. That totally fits with what's going on in the video game space these days.
Have you heard of electronic sports?
I have heard of electronic sports. I just heard that UC Irvine has just created an arena for you for esports.
That's right.
It's insane.
The first public university to actually offer scholarships. There have been some private universities as well. And if you're wondering, how does Ben Silverman know so much about esports all of a sudden? It's because, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. I've pivoted, as they say.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. Jerks say that, really, pivot. Pivoted. I made a pivot, and now I'm looking at esports. So, yeah, I'm still at Yahoo, which has been my gig this whole time. And no longer with games there because they are exiting that. But they have entered the esports market with Yahoo Esports. A lot of people are doing esports, and that's Yahoo. Now I'm helping them do esports.
Well, you're working with the tech side of Yahoo, which is kind of interesting. You were kind of moving more and more in that direction anyways, and then there was this big kind of change. And fiscally, speaking, it probably makes a tremendous amount of sense because there is a lot of money being thrown around at esports and VR right now. But without having to disclose every single personal kind of idea that went through your head when this news was coming down, tell us a little bit about how this transition to esports felt for you.
Without it being personal,
You don't have to go through every neuroses that you had around this. But
how long is this show? The show's only an hour, right?
It's as long as you want to be, man. You can lie down on the couch. You can tell us all about it.
Yeah, when you get a guy like me started on neurosis, man, we're going to be here all month. I mean, I could just go. I mean, my dad, was 9. I wanted an SNES, and he got me a Genesis, and it's just been.
Oh no.
Yep.
That's,
There.
is that
Yeah.
that's the descriptor for your video game career right there?
Yeah, everything was like peachy up until it was like a SNES or a Genesis, and then I got a Genesis, and then it's just like a shit show. Can I swear? I just did, so I guess so.
Yeah,
Whoops.
it's okay.
Sorry, internet.
The censors
internet.
have no idea where we are. They can't
I know
find us.
the internet's usually pretty clean, so
We're like the iPhone before the FBI cracked it.
right. Okay. Cool. Like a flip phone.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty wild. It's been a wild year for a lot of reasons for a lot of people. Everybody I love musically has died, so that happened at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Like everyone was dying,
Yeah.
and then all these gaming sites were shutting down, and then Yahoo Games was shutting down, and then I stopped working with you. It was, I mean, everything just, it was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And
It's like rug pulled out from underneath all of our feet, kind of.
2016 has been like a real
Yeah.
bastard in general. I think it's like not been an awesome start to the year.
Yeah.
But for me professionally, it's been a really cool. I'm surprised. I mean, I've been doing pretty traditional video games editorial for a long time, for a couple decades technically. This would be my 20th year doing this, and so to kind of look towards something else, and esports, I'm haven't been a huge fan. I think a lot of people in my position, in your position, we've sort of been kind of ostriching this thing.
Yeah.
Like, we know esports is huge. We know League of Legends is like the biggest game in the world. We know that Dota 2, the international, they're huge, impossibly huge, and everybody seems to be interested in it, except like the editors of all these outlets, like except the guys and gals who are like running the show.
Yeah.
So for me, this was an opportunity to like kind of invest in it and investigate it and see really what esports is all about. And partly it's been a learning curve. Partly I kind of I'm already in. I mean, I've professed my love for Hearthstone to you and on the show
Yep.
billions of times. It's one of my favorite games. Rocket League. I have my own games that I love to play competitively, and that I do watch clips on YouTube, and I'll watch competitions. Um, and I've also been a huge sports fan my whole life. Grew up in LA in the 70s and 80s, so that means I'm a de facto Lakers fan. Not so much anymore because you can't be a Lakers fan anymore. They're the worst. But I've lived in the Bay Area also for as long as I lived in LA, so technically I can be a Warriors fan without being a bandwagon Warriors fan.
Yeah.
I've been for them for decades as well. So for me, it's kind of trying to figure out how this marriage works. Sports and video games. I love both of those things. And yet for me, for a long time, esports has never really clicked. And you would think that would be an automatic thing. Like, you like sports, you like video games. Why wouldn't you like esports? But I've always sort of been like, I don't really understand the vocabulary. I don't understand. It moves so quickly. They don't have the benefit of, like, you watch an NFL game and something happens and they freeze it. And someone draws on it, and there's time in between things. There's breaks, there's timeouts, there's halftimes.
You're right. Yeah. And every sport that we watch, it's like you can learn the whole entirety of the sport every time you watch any game. When you watch a baseball game, a soccer game, a hockey game, you get the whole history, the whole encapsulated professional sports history in every broadcast. And video game coverage just can't do that. You're right.
Yeah, part of it's the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Part of it is the nature of just the way that the world has been approaching esports.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's been very much preaching to the choir. It reminds me a little bit at sort of the beginning of my career, the way the video game industry was sort of, insular and sort of was all about, like, you had a website and people who read it were fans of the games, and it was just fans all the time.
Yeah.
And it never wanted to broaden. And now you look at how broad video games are, and everyone's writing about it, and everybody's writing about it with authority and knowledge. It's not such a big thing to be a fan anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think esports is still sort of in that, like, really fan-driven, community-driven place. And that's really exciting. It's really cool. But I think it's also missing some of the, sort of the broader view that bigger outlets can do. When you have more resources, you can present it in different ways. You can come up with different ideas. And the amount of money being poured into it is absurd. Everybody's jumping on it. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know how big it's going to get, or if there's a bubble that's going to burst and people are going to, like, not want to watch every single thing that says esports with it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely exciting, and it's definitely a thing. And then at the same time that I'm covering esports, I'm also still covering VR for Yahoo Tech. So for me, I've kind of, even though I still love conventional video games, and we'll talk about that, a lot of my life is going to be sort of esports and VR, which sort of weird, and not kind of by choice, just kind of sort of weirdly it happened like that. And
well, that is 2016 though, in a way, right? It's kind of like part and parcel with the biggest stories that are happening right now, and Yahoo's chasing it, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think that esports as a thing, I think maybe suffers a little bit from an over amplified kind of expression that this is the brand, this is the thing. Everybody's just throwing that word around so much that there is a little bit of like, okay, I've got it. But the idea of professional gaming and people being so good that they're getting paid for their skills is not new. It's been around for a long ass time. It's just sort of evolved to a sophistication level right now, and also I think the democratization of these free-to-play experiences out there available to everybody, and they can compete at higher levels, has really kind of transformed and changed everything for this business in a big way.
Yeah, it really has. And I mean, also the nature of the games. I mean, I have a hard time playing MOBAs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, compared to me playing Quake back in the day, like, I probably actually have a better chance at figuring out and being okay at Dota 2 than I do at, like, having had a chance at killing anyone in Quake. I mean, even to this day,
right.
If I were to hop online right now and play competitive Halo, it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's just everyone's really good. And with these sort of new ideas with games like Rocket League or for me, Hearthstone, you feel like you can get better. You can watch and you can learn and you can enjoy it the same way you could enjoy basketball. I mean, I'll never play basketball. I mean, I never, ever would have had an opportunity to play basketball at any sort of level beyond my crappy high school. I was the 12th man on the varsity team. Like, that's as good as it was going to get for me.
It's about the game. It's about the play, man.
But you know what? I've been able to enjoy it my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been able to, like, watch basketball and be connected to it. And I feel like esports will eventually get there. Right now, it's hard to follow. Right now, it's very much about people who know everything
Right.
about the sports. And
Right.
like, I mean, also look, the team names are crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Hmm.
It's like it's not the Bears and the Giants and it's the, Solo Mid and Fnatic and Navi and like these. They don't
Yeah.
Cloud9. They don't like kind of
And they're
hit
all
you.
missing a vowel or two.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of extreme.
And then there's
It's extreme.
apostrophes and things, and you got to kind of just collapse them all down. I look at that stuff, and people have asked me about producing content around esports all the time, and they're obviously like, well, you're having a tough time with, finding that home right now for EP. Why don't you just make esports stuff? And it's like, well, it's very crowded. There's a lot of people doing it, and my philosophy is, really love what you're going to produce because it's hard to produce anything, especially like broadcast and television and this stuff. So really, really know it and love it and live it. And I just don't. I mean, it's very fascinating, and I love that we do stories on esports and stuff. But for me right now to do what you've been doing, unless somebody said, okay, well, here's the job and here's the opportunity and here's the position and here's your budget and we trust your instincts and we want you to go for it this way, which I think they've done with you. It would be, a very kind of inauthentic thing for me to just kind of position and suddenly start paying all kinds of attention out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I also want to make it clear that like my involvement and being a part of Yahoo Esports, there's a team, a big team in place, and it's being run by Yahoo Sports.
Yeah.
And they're really awesome with sports coverage. And the people who I work with on the esports team, they hired a lot of really incredibly knowledgeable esports people.
Mm-hmm.
People who have been in the community for a long time, journalists and hosts, and a really knowledgeable team. So I don't feel necessarily like I have to come in here and sort of say, here's how we're going to do it, because
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot of that on the
Yeah.
job.
Which must be the best part of this gig for you, right? I mean, you're in
Yes.
this space right now that you were, 6 months ago pretty unfamiliar with, for the most part, I would imagine. And now you're soaking it up. So now you have this whole brand new skill set that must be really exciting for you.
Yeah, well, I just find the whole thing. I just find the whole thing sort of exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I don't know anything about, and it's really easy getting comfortable with the things especially in this job. We know if you were to offer someone a job in the video game industry as an editor and you were accepting resumes, every single person would say like, I started gaming when I was 3.
Yeah.
Oh, here's my sheet of like I beat Castlevania when I was in my fetus. I was a fetus.
Here are my
playing
achievements.
Castlevania. Yeah, exactly. Check. I have 400,000 achievements because it's all I could tell you everything about the lore of Dead Space.
Yeah.
Could blow your mind about Dead Space. And it's like everybody's got that sort of that passionate in understanding and know-how of it. And I have it. I mean, I've been doing it my whole adult life.
Yeah.
Weirdly, this has been my job. And over time, it's not challenging. You're just doing it, but it's not necessarily challenging. You have to find ways to challenge yourself. So for me, this was kind of an opportunity to really challenge myself, but in a way that I think syncs up with the things that I kind of love and know anyway. So it's a new thing and a new adventure, but it saddens me. What saddens me every day, I don't get to see your cherubic face. Can I say cherubic? Is that okay?
Sure.
Like chubby cherub. You're like my chubby cherub.
It's these, huh? It's right there. Yes. I know. Thanks, buddy. You're squeezing me through the Skype cam. I love it. I love it. All right, so I love it. So that's what you've been doing basically since December-ish?
No, I mean I actually joined that team in February.
Oh, okay. So it's very recent.
I'm like month and change in at this point. So I'm still getting my feet wet.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Are you still reviewing traditional games like you have been with Yahoo? Or have you been playing Quantum Break or under embargoes and stuff like that? But are you still sort of checking everything out that's coming in?
Yeah, I am. I mean, the last month or two has been a little kooky. Like I wasn't able to spend a lot of time with the Division because that came out sort of right as I was moving into the esports group. So
right.
I've sort of missed a few of those things at the beginning of the year. I mean, I was reviewed Oxenfree and Firewatch and Street Fighter V, which I guess actually would be esports.
Yep.
And yeah, moving forward, and yeah, I mean, I intend to still be doing some of that coverage, both on Yahoo Esports and possibly on Yahoo Tech. I'll be covering the Rift, tentpole games like the Uncharted's and the No Man's Skies and everything.
Right.
I'm just going to name a bunch of Sony games apparently.
And Ratchet and Clank is on deck. It's coming soon.
Right,
Well, that's
right.
good. So your job has changed. The sort of description has changed, and you're not working with Foobs every week right now, but you're still, yeah, right now.
Not even a single tier. It's 2 tiers.
2 tiers, yeah, and that's right now. Things will change, but you're still in the space, and you're kind of testing all the cool shit, and you're still having fun, and you're learning
so.
stuff. Yeah,
I think so. I'm pretty cool with it.
and we saw you at GDC. I saw you at GDC, and it was a good GDC. Did you have a good time down there?
I had a great. I love GDC, man.
Yeah.
GDC. I'm all about GDC. It's such a weird show. It's such a weird show. It's like so much shit just thrown into this conference. It used to be just a bunch of game developers showed up and like would sit there and have Maya workshops, and like
Yep.
some dude would be like, check out my tree technology. Be like, that's pretty cool tree rendering, and like try to write a story about tree rendering. And now it's just all kinds of crap. You've got this huge indie scene there. You've got all the I mean, this was all about VR this year. They had an eSports summit for a whole day. It's like it feels to me like it's sort of, you go to GDC and you get a sense of what's going to be happening, or the big thing that's happening in the video game industry for the like in a year, not what's happening this year, but like in 2017,
Right.
esports and VR are going to be sort of really cranking.
So they're starting to launch. The Rift is out. Did you get your Rift?
I did not.
Yeah.
I have one coming. I think it should be here. I mean, literally now. It could be here tomorrow,
Okay.
sometime this week or this weekend. But they're having a hard time, I think, with that, with just the pre-orders and the back orders, and they didn't make enough.
Yeah. Which is probably going to be par for the course with all of the launches. I think throughout the year for all of these big VR things, I think there's going to be shortages. Maybe some of them
Yeah.
intentional, maybe some of them not. But
Yeah.
did you check stuff out? Did you check any new VR stuff out when you were at GDC?
Oh, I did. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
sat with almost the entire Oculus launch lineup,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably what was a couple weeks before the thing shipped. So I
Yeah.
played a lot of final builds of stuff. I sat through a lot of the PSVR stuff that they had there. I was at the announcement, sitting next to our friend Jeff Kanata, in fact.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I haven't spent a lot of time with the Vive. That's the only one I've had like 2 or 3 Vive demos. That to me feels a little bit like, it's really cool. It's such a ridiculous ask that you're gonna have like I mean, this is my nerd space,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
what am I? I have too much crap. Like, I can't. Who's gonna? I don't know.
Well, in the future, we won't have crap because it will be virtual. And so we'll have big empty rooms, and we'll put on our goggles, and then we'll look at our crap. And then with our haptic hands, we'll be able to walk up and feel our crap, but it'll be virtual crap. Much easier to clean up, no dusting. What do you think?
I like you to feel your crap like this. Ooh, Batman.
I got
Batman.
some crap right here. Look at this.
Spider-Man. Who's this?
So out of all the VR stuff that you have played and tested, and honestly, I'm going to fess up. I still have not done this in public because I'm
Did
just
you not do it? You
not
missed
going to
it
do
at
it. No,
GDC.
I had to go and be on camera right after. I watched everybody mess up all their hair and have these
How
big
did you
goggle
miss
plants
it?
on their thing. I'm not
How
going to
did
do
you-
that.
you
I
couldn't-
saw it.
You
You know,
couldn't walk 5 fucking feet at GDC without
I'm-
knocking into a rift. How did you
At
avoid it?
E3, I figure I'm just going to bring a toque. And so I'm just gonna wear a toque and some shades, and that's it. I'm gonna do all the
Hats.
reporting.
Just wear a hat.
Wear hats on the show. That's my whole thing this year for 2016.
Yeah.
But all the VR stuff that you have now tasted and sampled, what's the most exciting thing, and which one of the 3 are you machines, the hardware offerings, are you most excited about?
Well, those are 2 different questions. I don't know what I've seen that's the coolest game, because they all offer something. Probably the coolest thing that I've seen was it called Henry, I think it is, which was a short that was done by Oculus Studios, and it was done by a guy who used to work at Pixar, and it was basically like this hedgehog. It was 8-minute short with a hedgehog who had like a kind of was friends with some balloon animals, and they were scared of him because he had spikes, and it was kind of a very cute little Pixar-like tale.
Right.
And you're watching this, and you're sitting in his house in this like tree.
Cool.
And I thought, to me, that was one of the most aha moments I've had with VR, where I was like, this is, it's going to be hard for me to watch a regular movie again. Like I feel like I'm in this space. He walks over there and I'm following him, and he walks back this way and I'm looking here and looking at something else in his room, and I feel like I'm with this hedgehog in this experience, and it made it crazy and more emotional than what would have already been emotional. And I think that's incredibly early stuff, and where they're going to take that and how they're going to figure out how to create film experiences in VR is fascinating to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a game. I mean, that's non-interaction. When it comes to interactive games, I think Adrift is amazing. Adam Worth's game, I think that's really cool. I think Lucky's Tale is a sleeper and a killer app. It's basically, Mario 64.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're
and it's
and you are the right thumbstick.
right. Except, so here's the way I was trying to describe that to somebody. Like when you think about most VR things, or when you think about most games, there's okay, there's like the first person experience, right, where
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am Mario, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the experience that we have with Mario where it's third person, and you see Mario running around or you see Mario on the screen, but you still say I am Mario even though you're not
Right.
looking through Mario's eyes.
Right.
With this, it's like a second person thing.
Mm.
So you see the character, you're helping the character, but I didn't really feel like I was Lucky. I feel like I'm kind of a voyeur in his world and I'm helping him on his adventure.
Right.
Because you can kind of see his dangers before he does.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that you can interact with, from a VR standpoint that kind of makes Lucky's travels a little bit easier or changes up the game mechanics, from what we've known before? Or is it just taking a 3D cartoony action platformer type game and letting you look around in every direction?
A bong. You could take a big bong rip, and that would make it
This
like
is amazing.
much, much more realistic. I mean, the controls and the kind of functionality of it is pretty standard platformer stuff. Like
Okay.
you jump on the guy's head, you,
Okay.
swing your tail around to hit somebody, whatever. And
Do you-
again, I haven't played the final version, but
Right.
there is something that happens when you can see the world and when you look back and you see the world in the distance and you're looking at things that the character sort of isn't seeing in a way that the character doesn't see it. I sound crazy. You sound crazy when you talk about VR.
No, you know what it is? It's and I'm playing Quantum Break right now. I can't talk about it, but the one thing that I will say is that because it's a fusion of, everybody knows this, of storytelling, sort of linearly told, but also game mechanics and a lot of the same models and expensive sort of graphics are all kind of integrated in that endeavor. It also seems like a precursor to VR storytelling because you can imagine that world that they've created for you enveloping everything and seamlessly transitioning to a video scene or a movie scene and then back to a game thing. And I think that's going to be a big future for, a big part of the future of how we experience games and movies going down the road, But another thing is Half-Life 2, right? That was one of the first ones where the story's going on all the way around you, and you can just pivot and point and look at every direction that you want to, or you can, try to position the camera perfectly so you can see it in a kind of a scene,
Yeah, it's interesting too. I mean, when you talk to game makers about developing things for VR, you have to use totally different techniques. I mean, in a game like Quantum Break or in any sort of third-person game, you always sort of know where to go, right? There's a light or something that kind of says, well, maybe you should go down this path, or if it's a pretty linear game, you know exactly where you're going to go. But in VR, you often are looking in the wrong place. And
Right.
You're literally looking over here.
Yeah.
And you get turned around really easy. You're kind of doing this.
Dude, I know.
And then,
I actually have
you know,
had a Gear VR, so I've had a taste of it now. So I know that's
Yeah.
not the real deal, but I've had it for a while and I've tested out some games. And more often than not, I've booted everything up, but I've shifted my head as I'm trying to load something up, and then I find that it's like off center. All the menu and everything is over here, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Well, how do I? And because this is not comfortable to play. What you
Yeah,
gotta
the Gear VR has a lot of problems with it. You have to constantly recenter it.
Yeah.
Although I think the Gear VR, it's funny. Everyone throws away the Gear VR, and I have one sitting right here, and
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, it's not as high res, and it's certainly not as high powered as the Rift or the PSVR or the Vive. But mobile VR is it. I can throw it in my bag. I can take it somewhere. I don't have a cable coming out that's connected to things. Like every time I've played with the Rift, and again, I don't have a unit here, so I haven't really experienced it on my own.
Yeah.
Like I was playing this game. I can't remember what it was called. I don't know. Make some crappy video game name up in your head.
Doodle Blast.
robot shoot.
Okay, robot shoot. Yep, love it.
Robot camera shoot. So, and that's what it was. You're like robots, and you look at another robot, and you could jump into that robot's body and shoot. And then the other robots, when they see you shooting, get mad and start shooting at you.
Right.
So you find another robot, and you're kind of jumping around the battlefield.
Okay.
As you're doing that, you're looking around a lot because you got to find another robot.
Yeah.
So I find a robot over here, and I jump into it, and then there's a robot there, and I jump into it.
Okay.
As I'm doing this demo, I feel the guys behind me.
You're being strangled.
No, they're kind of going like this. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of going, like moving this thing.
Right.
Because I'm clearly getting tied up in a cable, but
Sure.
they're helping me not be tied up. And I got mad. I'm like, stop it. Like, don't, like, if you've designed a game that I'm going to, like, possibly strangle myself because I'm turning around in circles.
That's the mechanic, yeah. Right.
Then I need to know that.
Yeah.
Stop trying to, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I look, a lot of the demos that I've played haven't necessarily been the same experience as when you play it at home. And you've read some of the reviews. A lot of people talk about sort of the difficulty in getting the thing on and off, some of the problems with having this kind of isolation of the thing. I think the Gear VR is a little bit easier. You can kind of get it on and off quicker. You don't have cables. I think that's a better vision of the future of what this stuff's eventually going to be like.
Right.
Even though it's the least powerful at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The PSVR, you know, you asked me initially what of the three I was most kind of excited about. I think the Rift is sort of ahead of the other ones, and I think they have the most, maybe the best ideas and the best funding behind it. I mean, Facebook's got all the money and all
the people
and developers, and they've got all the games. PSVR is a lot more comfortable, easier to get on and off of your head, but I noticed a lot lower of a resolution than with the Rift, and it was noticeable for me, so I didn't love it.
So do you think this 4.5 is coming, the PlayStation 4.5, to kind of appease that or adjust to that?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? How many DSs do you own?
Several, yeah. No, I think it's going to be a kind of a piss off for the people that have already spent a lot of money because they're going to feel compelled to do it. But I spent about 2 nanoseconds before I decided I wanted that Batman PS4. So, you know, if they do something cool on the machine and make it look better and more powerful, I'd want one of those for sure. Same with the Xbox 1.5 or whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah, but you'd buy a bottle of the flu virus if it had a Batman logo on it.
Yeah,
like,
true. Yeah, it would be
buy anything with the Batman logo.
Maybe not this week.
No? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, I'm sorry. I forgot to say I'm sorry.
Oh, my God, man. I couldn't believe it. I was more upset after that movie than I was after Dark Knight Rises, and I was pretty bummed out after that one with the, I'm going to get you, Mr. Wayne. I mean, it was it was just unbelievable, this movie. Have you seen it? Have you gone out to see Batman vs. Superman?
I don't get to see movies. I have a 2-year-old, man. I haven't seen. Name 5 movies. There's no way I've seen them. Name 5.
Ex Machina.
Oh yes, I saw that. Oh my God, that's an old one. That was like
you'd seen it on Netflix now or something, right?
Yeah, so that's a year. Okay.
So
but
you went out to the theaters for Star Wars.
Yeah, but I saw Star Wars like 3 weeks later than everybody.
Mm.
I have to get. You don't have to, man. I have to get like. I gotta get it signed in triplicate. I have lawyers if I'm gonna go out and leave the house that like allow me to leave the house. I have to have the sheriff has to come escort me somewhere. They have a notary that has to sign off.
And as it should be, you're a father. Precedence. I just have a job that allows me to review movies. That's my excuse. I get to go out, and my wife and my daughter are very, very patient with that. And it kind of sucks that I got to say, okay, bye guys, I'm off to go to Movie Land, and hopefully it's good.
Yeah, that sucks, Vic.
Yeah, no, but it sucks for them.
Oh yeah,
right. Like,
maybe they have a great time when you're gone.
They do, and actually, I've been able to bring them to a few of the animated things too, which has been kind of cool. But I'm curious to hear what you're going to think about Batman versus Superman. But I haven't talked to you in a long time. In this capacity, what were your thoughts on Star Wars?
Star Wars, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked Star Wars. I thought it was a really good movie. I mean, yeah, there were problems, like for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And even while I watched it, I've seen it maybe how many times? I guess 3 times.
Okay.
Once on the plane, half-assed, so
okay.
3.5 times.
Okay.
And there are some holes. I mean, I think the thing I every time I watch it that I don't like is just how closely it mirrors the first movie. There's just times where I was like, they should have maybe just. Did you have to fly into the middle of the thing to blow it up again? Like, is it still just they make a big giant? It doesn't matter how big the thing is. If you fly to the middle of it, you can just blow it up. Like, that's how many times are they going to fuck that up?
Yeah.
And they fucked that up again.
Yeah.
But the practical effects were spectacular. The special effects were spectacular. The characters were likable. When's the last time you saw a sci-fi movie like that where the characters were likable? I
Yeah.
liked the stars. I thought they were good. I believed who they were, and I thought it was cool. I like the mysteries that everyone is trying to solve now. Um, full disclosure, I am, a big fan of Lawrence Kasdan
Oh,
and
right. You're a
his
family
family,
friend,
and
right?
so and his family. So I gotta disclose that,
Yeah.
but so it was really exciting for me to see, him back on the project. But I think it showed. I mean,
Yeah.
it felt like the old films, and that wasn't just JJ, that was Lawrence as well. So
Yeah, and that was the challenge with the movie, is that they knew they had to do that, but they had to do it in a way that was not, you know, too offensive to most people, and
yeah,
they achieved that. I mean, they had to make reprimands for the sort of malaise that we all felt. Is that the right word? Malaise.
Malaise.
Malaise that we all felt for.
You're in Canada, it could be malaise in Canada. I
Could
don't
be.
know.
I think malaise you put on bread with a
Well,
little.
it's
Yeah.
got an A,
Yeah.
so maybe
Mal-
when it actually has an A in it, you guys say I instead of A, because A is
Sure, right, yeah, or malazi.
Yeah.
Anyways, we were all feeling shitty about Star Wars, and a lot of us were, based on the prequels. So they had to kind of, appease that crowd, and they did, and that was a very tough ask, and I think they achieved it. And now,
Yeah, absolutely.
and now we are kind of in this moment of suspense to see how they're going to top it and where they're going to go with all these separate movies like Rogue One this year. I love seeing the aftermath of the fame and the success, and seeing Daisy Ridley's star rising and John Boyega going to hospitals and making kids just freak out and all this stuff. I mean, they're absolutely reveling in it, and I love that. I think it's
And that didn't happen with Hayden.
no,
It
no,
didn't happen with shitty movies.
no.
So like
They kind of disappeared, and then
yeah.
I think we all fooled ourselves when we saw that first one that it was pretty cool, and maybe got it up again to have a little excitement for the second one, and then that was like really not cool. And then by the third time, and I remember you were probably in that screening that LucasArts threw for video game journalists at E3.
Uncomfortable.
Right, and the president of Lucas, I guess, was he Lucasfilm? I think it was Jim Ward, right? I think it was all. Yeah, he got up and gave a big speech, and we were all very cynical and jaded by that point. It's like, yeah, show us what you got. And I actually liked the third movie, but it was trying so hard to make us feel like we were going back there. But yeah, I thought about the pressures that Lawrence Kasdan and JJ and that whole sort of creative team, all of the money and all the pressure to try to make this a franchise and make this a new industry for Disney must have been unbelievable. And George knocking at the door with his ideas and being ushered out all the time. I mean, that must have been so stressful. Yeah, thanks, George. Thanks.
I like that image, just like with like a whole thing of Starbucks, 4 Starbucks, like at the door again. Like, do you guys, anyone want a latte? I think we got to bring back the Raiders. The Tuscan Raiders. Got to bring those guys back. These guys are great. We didn't use them enough. I have more of the rap. I have some other ideas for the rap. You guys want? Anyone wants a latte? We're just like, George.
What? I've got an idea for what was the old store guy that had Anakin as his little slave kid? What was his name?
This guy who talks like this all the time.
That guy.
Hey, it's a good deal.
Let's have a little side story with Watu. Was that his name?
Yeah,
Watu.
Racist Jewishy guy. Hey, my son is having a bar mitzvah. It's good, huh? You want to make a good deal?
What was it? Watto? Watto. Okay, Watto. Yeah, he's a little older. Let's do a whole half, little story on Watto.
My colon's acting up. I'm not feeling good anymore. Oh, I think I got a prostate problem these days.
Oh my God! Or that fucking, was it a robot on a tiny little pinwheel that was working in that 50s diner or something? It was so ridiculous. So many ridiculous images from those prequels. So amends made, and Star Wars is good again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally. I'm in it, and I'm stoked to see what happens. And
How
it's
are
been
things?
so long since I've been stoked about anything Star Wars.
How are things now? Because you're friends with the Kasdans, and I'm curious to hear your kind of take on this. But how are things at is it the Kasdan Ranch? How do
they don't accept my calls anymore.
They're very busy.
Nope. I'm just like, hey guys, what's little Benny Silverman from high school? What's going on? hey guys, you guys got any action figures? And they're just like, we don't know who you are, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gate just shuts. Yeah, I mean, I haven't spoken to Lawrence or them or really. I mean, his son Jake and I have been friends for a long time, and yeah, they're stoked. I mean, they're stoked. It's a great. I think it's just really great for him to be able to come back to a project that was, such a defining thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when they announced a new indie movie, I
Yeah.
was like, fingers crossed, they're going to bring him back for that too. That's
Yeah.
what they should just keep bringing that
Totally.
guy back.
Absolutely, man.
He's amazing as a screenwriter for these things. And when you look at where a lot of these movies go wrong, it's because they don't have a great script. And
I mean,
as a writer, I believe in great scripts and great words, and words are important. And yeah, there you go.
absolutely. I mean, don't you think that he will be involved at some stage? And I mean, they haven't announced it, but it makes total sense. David Kep, I think, is the guy that's going to be writing the movie. But certainly they're going to have to punch up dialogue and sort of focus things. I mean, Kasdan would be the perfect choice for that.
He should be. Yeah, I have no idea. They won't. Again, I mean, seriously, I called them. I think might have a restraining order at this point against me. So I try not to.
Guys.
I could get into trouble just for talking.
Oh, well, that's cool though, man. It's good to be. It is weird because we can never kind of escape this nostalgia bubble that we're in, right? It's just like it feels like clockwork that the thing that we loved 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's time for us to love it again, and the machine has made it kind of percolate and brought back into our life again because the alarm goes off, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
that
I mean, I don't know. I think it's not just that the alarm goes off. I think it's just that
the vaults have emptied.
there's money in it. I mean, there's so much
We need
money.
some more gold coins in that vault.
I mean, how much money didn't Batman make?
500 million bucks over the weekend worldwide. So no, even
It doesn't matter if anything's good anymore. It could just be shit. And like, if
yeah,
you just kind of put a million trailers out and have some crazy, awesome graphics and just stick a superhero in it,
yeah,
people will fucking line up and see it. It's frustrating, And I'm watching Daredevil. I'm about halfway through the second season.
yeah.
I like the first season, maybe not as much as everybody in the world went crazy for it. And I like it. I think it's better than a lot of the bigger films. I think obviously it's longer. They can spend more time on characters and development and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
But I'm pooped. I'm pooped.
Well,
I'm pooped.
the first season has this, especially for everybody that binged the hell out of it, like me. You can't really tell where one episode ended and the next one started. It just felt like one long movie, like one really long show, and there was just a fight scene after a moment of quiet and calmness and questioning whether they should be doing it or not. And then the next fight kind of erupts. In the second season, it's a little more broken up into sort of narrative focus with a little attention on different characters, and there's actually little arcs all the way through it. But it kind of misses I think Wilson Fisk he's in the second season too. I'm sorry if you haven't gotten to that part, but he's
There it is.
sorry, dude.
Spoiler. No, don't worry. It's all right. I'm on the internet. I mean, I should just. Yeah.
Well,
Does the Joker live? By the way.
Joker's alive. He's good. He'll be
alive?
back.
Great.
Yeah,
Cool.
in Suicide Squad, which they're now punching up with more comedy. I heard today, which is
Oh, really?
yeah, they got
Really?
some notes back from the world about Batman versus Superman, so they're trying to lighten up Suicide Squad right
You're
now.
gonna stick fucking Jar Jar Binks in that movie, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're gonna do something, man. I mean, they gotta figure it out. Maybe
Yeah.
Watto will find a way.
Hey, what's going on, Joker? I see you laughing all the time. I'm feeling good. This accent is going to fucking garbage by this dumpster fire of an
Joe
accent.
Pesci. Just stick Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci right into that movie.
Actually, that'd be good.
But no, the second season is phenomenal for all the additional characters and stuff. But Wilson Fisk was amazing in that first season. So
Yeah, he was
threatening.
great. I mean, I don't mind any of the performances. Like on an individual level,
Yeah.
in even the Avengers stuff, or like I'm fine with sort of the casting of most of it. And I'm just sort of tired. Like I'm like fatigued by the special effects. I'm
Yeah.
fatigued by the they're almost gonna die and then they survive. I'm just kind of like the rhythm of it, I kind of want like a break. Like, it'd be great to have a year of like no superhero movies for a year, so we can start to want something again, as opposed to like okay, other than you, but like
No.
every
But that, I mean, it's
there's
just
just like
not going to
another
happen.
thing.
It's not
I know.
happening for 10 years. They're all
But
so
that's
committed to all of these things, man. It's
but
unbelievable.
that's why we're stoked about Star Wars. If they put out another Star Wars in 6 months, and then another Star Wars 6 months after that, and 6 months after that another Star Wars, after 4 years, it'd be like no more Star Wars. Like
Well,
I've had it.
that's exactly what they're doing. We get a Star Wars every year.
Well, right, sorta, and yeah, maybe I'll kind of burn out, and
Yeah.
I'm worried about that. I mean, one of the things that was so great about the original trilogy was that
The wait for the each one was 3 years, right?
and after it
Yeah.
there was nothing, so
Yeah.
we had to like fill in the gaps with our imagination, and people had to write novels, and we had to figure out what the fuck happened to Boba Fett, and
Right.
what is Chewbacca. I heard in one of the books a planet fell on his head. Like, really? What? Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, people just came up with stuff, and the lore became more mysterious and exciting.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when that gets ruined by overdoing it with any fantasy. I loved, like, for me, the Lord of the Rings when I was a kid was a book that I had read a couple times, not as a kid, I didn't understand it as a kid, but like 12, 13, and then through high school, and there were so many unexplained things about it, and there were
Yeah.
so many questions about it. And I loved the films, but I didn't love everything that's kind of gone around it, where everyone now has to explain everything and over analyze every tidbit of everything. It's exhausting, and it takes the fun and the love and the mystery out of films and books. And that's why I think you mentioned Ex Machina. That was maybe my favorite film of last
It
year,
was a wonderful movie. Yeah.
and fresh and I didn't understand any of it. Mad Max to me is exactly the same way. That was actually my favorite movie, was Mad Max. And the
Yeah.
thing I love about Mad Max is like he didn't give a shit if you knew what Shiny and Chrome or Morton Joe. I barely even understood his name the first time I saw it. I didn't understand half the dialogue.
Right.
What's happening? I didn't really get it, and I wasn't supposed to. And
Yeah.
that's what fiction's supposed to do. It's supposed
Yeah.
to just present itself, and you have to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's where they went wrong with the prequels with Star Wars, is they tried to sort of go back and explain everything that we kind of knew was coming before it did, and they told us what the hell the Force was made out of. Like, just stupid choices that way, which is crazy. You're right, man. And I the one thing that I will continue to give Zack Snyder credit for is that. He is trying to carve out his own path with this stuff, and he probably feels the same exhaustion and the same kind of pressures to try to build a reputation around his ability to create things. I don't like a lot of his choices, especially in this new one, but I respect that he is saying this is mine to make, and and now he's got to really. He's got a lot of fans for this movie. I've been getting a lot of heat for my review this past week, but I think he's also reading all the negative buzz and all the negative reviews, and I think he's probably utilizing the box office right now as his shield against any negativity around all this stuff. But at least he did try to kind of make his own kind of vision. And that was what I liked about Man of Steel. I actually liked that movie, but this new movie just goes too far away from all of the source material and just kind of, slaps it down. You haven't seen it yet, and I want you to make up your own mind about it. But it was really hard to watch. It was for me because it was just too much in the other direction. Almost.
I hear what you're saying, though. Like, in a world where everybody seems to be, just trying to bring characters that we love to stick them on the screen and just make millions of dollars. Like, it doesn't even matter what they do. Just
Right.
put them on screen and make millions of dollars. There is something attractive about an artist, even if it's a bad artist, which
Yeah.
it sounds sort of like people are sort of saying about Zach, that he's kind of a bad artist. I mean, I haven't seen it, so no judgment from me, but I get that sentiment of yours, which is he's trying to do something, whether it's good or shitty. At least he's trying to say, I have a vision. I'm an artist. Here it is, whether you like it or hate it.
I think what happened with that movie, quite frankly, is that they started down a path. I mean, they've delayed it, right? So they had to do a lot of reshoots, and they had to change a lot of things. I think they started down a path, and the studio got freaked out, and DC probably got freaked out, and lots of different additions and changes were made. Affleck called Chris Terrio in, who he had worked with at Argo. He's his writer partner, and he took over on David Goyer's script. Goyer wrote Man of Steel. So it looked like a bunch of kludged parts and ideas kind of taped together, but not assembled in any kind of elegant way, even after all of this time and hype and expense.
Yeah.
And it kind of it falls apart because of that, which is a familiar tale in Hollywood, and frankly, that's what could have happened with Star Wars, I mean, that's kind of what we predicted was going to happen, especially Scott. I mean, I think this was a movie that just had a target on its back. As much as we all loved it, loved the idea of it coming back in JJ's kind of possession to revitalize, I think there was tremendous trepidation, and they didn't screw it up, They have some things that piss people off. Blake wasn't a huge fan, but there are lots of people that were disappointed with that, and actually a lot of people. It's been interesting this week because I'm known as the Batman guy in the shows, and I've loved this character and loved the way that he's been envisioned.
Vic, you're known as Batman.
I'm known as Batman.
We know you're Batman.
But I've been having a lot of people just tweet at me or send messages that I just didn't understand this and I didn't get it, and you're not a real fan, you're just a critic, and all of it is just like, okay, it's very surprising to hear this because I don't know if there's been that many people in the public eye this obsessed with this character, besides me and some other people in our space. But I have to read that criticism about my discussion around this stuff and kind of soak it up. A lot of people have been saying that this was great, that Batman and Superman is great, as opposed to that terrible Force Awakens movie, which just copied Episode 4 note by note, or note for note, and that's absolutely that opinion, and they're fully entitled to that opinion, and it makes sense for them. But it's been weird. I feel like usually the fans and I are kind of correlating on this kind of stuff.
Yes, I could just little advice. Just don't read the comments. Just don't read the comments.
Well, we're on the YouTubes now, so
I
actually like these comments.
Scroll down. When you scroll down, you go to the part where like you can share, embed, and then just don't go down past that.
No, I like the comments. And speaking of which, we probably have a couple of comments and questions and stuff like that from some of the people that are watching. Blake, what do we got, my man?
Yeah, I've got a couple here.
Okay.
Cheap Tricks are the best. Wants to know, what is Ben playing these days?
Hey, Cheap Tricks, did you hear what Blake asked there? Wants to know what you've been playing lately.
What I've been playing lately? I just fired up Miitomo today, and I have no idea what the fuck that's all about. I have a funny voice now on my iPhone, on my little bees on my iPhone. I don't get that.
Okay.
Started playing that. I am playing Quantum Break. I can say I'm playing Quantum Break. I can't really tell you what I think about it.
Yep.
Yet. I think tomorrow I can tell you what I think about it. I can tell you that I have some issues with Quantum Break. How if I just say that? That sounds good. I have some issues.
Yeah.
I have some issues.
It'd be weird if you didn't.
What? Maybe they're all good issues.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Is that okay, embargo?
You have things to say.
I have things to say about Quantum Break, as I think the internet is going to say a lot of things about Quantum Break tomorrow.
I have some things to say about Quantum Break.
I think you probably have some things to say too. I am sucked back into Hearthstone. It happened. I got away.
What?
But eSports.
Okay.
Electronic sports. Have you heard of it?
eSports.
eSports. Look into it. Cheap Trick.
Mortal Kombat is eSports now. Were you shocked that happened? No.
No, I mean, technically they've been a few seasons of it. This is just sort of a bigger thing, and what they're doing, I think, now with it is they have like a pro league and an amateur league. So if you suck like me, you can still try to win money. I mean, everybody's doing it, man.
Yeah.
I'm still playing Rocket League. Rocket League and Hearthstone. Like if everything in my life goes to shit, I will still find a way to play Rocket League and Hearthstone. I am 100% in both of those games. And then I don't know what else am I playing? I'm looking around. Still finishing up a little bit of Fallout 4 from time to time.
Yeah, it's massive.
Again, The Division I kind of missed. I didn't really see it. I have it sitting here, and I just haven't cracked it open yet.
That is it's the weird thing about right now too, because if we were in production on EP in a kind or both shows, there would be this regular, please do these, Ben, please do these, and you would be able to just name off and rattle off all of these games that you've been able to play.
Yeah.
It's the same with me. I mean, I just posted my Division review. I've been getting to it when I can, and that's been par for the course with all of the games since the beginning of the year. It seems like there's a bunch of stuff hitting right now, but it's tougher if we don't have the infrastructure and the schedule to kind of make sure that we are playing all of this stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah, and not covering the traditional games quite the same way at Yahoo. I'm not stepping on the gas as hard as I usually would be with this stuff. I am playing a little bit of Dark Souls 3, which I have issues with, but maybe different kinds of issues than a break. Different issues.
Okay, yes.
And then I'm really what I'm doing is biding my time for this Rift to show up, and then I'm going to lose myself for a while in different VR games. But there's a lot of stuff. It's year round now.
Are you going to create a virtual family? And you're just gonna go and talk to your virtual family in your.
Can you do that?
I don't know.
Can you do that? Are you talking about pornography?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna do some of that? We'll just Skype in on one of your sessions one day.
Sessions. Yeah. It's not really. It's more like a moment in a session. I don't know. Give myself that kind of credit.
Blake, any other questions for Mr. Ben Silverman? Okay.
Jules M. This is a long one.
Hey, Jules M.
He says, Valve is now putting up $1 million of their own money behind Counter-Strike tournaments.
Valve's putting up $1 million behind Counter-Strike tournaments.
So the question is, will other developers need to put up big money behind their games to make their esports scenes successful?
So are other developers going to have to pony up big cash to make their esports scenes as successful?
Well, Valve's been the leader in this, right? They've done that for Dota. They put up a lot of money for Dota, and they've sold items for Dota, and I think a lot of other games and publishers are doing the same thing. In fact, Mortal Kombat, part of the way they're funding their entire esports thing is by selling, Sub-Zero and Ermac skins that you can download, and part of that money goes towards funding these prize pools, which I actually think, if you're going to sell DLC and you're going to take that money, putting into a prize pool is a hell of a lot better than hearing them put it into their pocket. Like, at least it's maybe something that's helping the community build itself.
Right.
Again, as long as they're not firing developers for it. Definitely Valve's a leader. But I think one thing I've definitely learned, and one thing if you get into esports you will learn, is that an esport being successful is entirely about the fans. It's not at all about what a publisher does. It doesn't really even matter what the game maker's doing. If the fans flock to it and they love it and they support it and they're into it, they're the ones who are going to say if a game is an esport. I mean, if you really think of esports as a parallel to regular sports, what do we have? We have the NBA, we have the NFL, NHL.
Yeah, there can be a finite number of names.
You got 6 or 7, right? So League of Legends is the NFL. Dota 2 is the NBA. I mean, you're not going to have 40 or 50 successful esports.
Smash
You're
Brothers
going to have
in there.
Smash Brothers, Call of Duty is now, pushed pretty hard on it. They've done
Street Fighter going to do it? Are they? I mean, they're pushing for it so hard. Are they going to be one of the contenders?
Well, it's going to take them a little while because they're transitioning from Street Fighter 4 to 5,
right.
And 5 didn't kind of come out of the gate super great. It was lacking content.
Yeah.
But they just had a huge NorCal tournament that went really well, and I think people are digging the game. And for me, actually, if I'm going to watch an esport,
it's a very easy one to watch, isn't it? Especially how beautiful Street Fighter V is. Just a gorgeous game,
Chun-Li is kicking the shit out of Zangief. I get it. I don't have to go like, what is the AD carry? What is the AP? What? And
Blake and I went to just a local event in San Francisco, and it was awesome. We just had a blast. We interviewed one of the producers on the game. I forget the guy's name. But it was a lot of fun and eye-opening, and one of the coolest things that I liked about it was that sense of community, and everybody was playing for fun, but also, hoping to, challenge some of the contenders and kind of work up, and it was really infectious, actually. I really dug that. That's something I can understand. Yes.
Like sports.
I watch a little League of Legends, and it feels, like I just dropped into an algebra lesson or something like that.
That's a huge problem, and I think that's something that at Yahoo and at ESPN, who's now doing this stuff, and I think you're going to see, who knows if Sports Illustrated, who knows who else is going to come into it.
Right.
I think you're going to start to see people try to figure that out a little bit, so that you're catering to the community, but you're also not making it so impossible for people who might want to learn about this and get into it.
Yeah.
How do you get them into it too? And that's a tough one.
How do you make VR and esports a thing? Can we put VR headsets on athletes and just have them run at full speed at things?
I mean, yeah, you could do that. I mean, you could do whatever you want if you have someone. Give someone enough whiskey.
How about
do anything you want.
American Ninja? Is that the thing, or
Ninja Warrior? Yeah.
American Ninja Warrior, esports, and VR, all the same thing. Let's
Totally.
see.
Dressed as Batman.
And maybe we give them AR so they can actually see a little bit of their environment.
Well, have you played Rigs? You haven't played Rigs.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
PSVR sporty kind of robot basketball game.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it. They get a little sick with it. I played it at E3 and totally loved it. And to me, that was like as sportsy as I felt playing a video game in a long time. Again, how do you watch it? How do you watch it the right way? Those questions on how you spectate these things that's the biggest problem in esports, I think.
Uncharted's going to have a pretty big multiplayer component. The demo went out there, was gangbusters, super fun. I don't know if you played any of the Uncharted demo, but can you look down the road and sort of predict what might end up being something that you guys would start to that might create a community big enough for Yahoo esports to kind of get behind?
I mean, yeah, you look at everything, I mean, you look at any major game coming out, and especially if someone's got a track record with it. I think there's games like Paragon from Epic that
Lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers maybe a little less. I think Paragon right now, it's definitely a MOBA. It's a MOBA. It's straight up, and it's got a cool kind of Epic Games action vibe to it.
Yep.
But games like Battleborn or games like even Doom that are multiplayer focused, to be an esport, again, like it's really hard to tell until pros sit with it and say, this is awesome. There's enough here for me to consider there's a learning curve. I mean, part of the thing about League of Legends or Dota that are so compelling for people is there's so much going on. There's so many strategies and so many ways to approach it that's what sort of turns it into a sport. Even a game like Rocket League that has very simple controls and you don't do a lot. You don't have deep strategies, but there's a lot in mastering that game. That's what we were talking about, why we almost gave it our game of the year last year, was because there's like so much to master these little controls that it feels sort of like mastering a three-pointer or mastering a fadeaway jump shot.
Can developers start their plan to develop an esport game, or does the community have to find it? And I would imagine that would be an extra layer of risk for any team that wants to get into the space. It's like, okay, well, we're going to try to make a fun game that people like, but now we're also going to add this other layer of we want to find a way to monetize this for our fan base. And
that was a big thing at GDC at the esports summit. We're sort of like hearing developers talk about kind of ways they could try to make their game esports friendly or something. And to be frank, I didn't attend all of those because I had things strapped on my face for most of the day, so I missed some of those. But
sure.
I think if you take a game like Hearthstone, for me, is a great example of a game that, like, I think when it was designed and when it was released, it was not looked at, I think, initially by Blizzard as, let's make an awesome esports game to compete with League of Legends. Like, that had nothing to do with it. It was like, let's make a collectible card game that's free and people are going to pay money to buy packs, and that's how we're going to monetize it, and that's it. And then it blew up and became huge, and then it was like, oh wait, this can be competitive, and oh wait, it not only can it be competitive like in that way, but people are going to want to watch it, and you're going to study players, and you're going to learn about how to build techs, and you're going to kind of invest yourself. So I think you can design a game so that it's friendly for esports, but I don't think you can say, I'm going to design an esports game. I mean, you couldn't go out tomorrow and design a sport. You could.
Yeah.
In fact, you should try Batman Golf or whatever you want. But like, if you're playing it with your friends, that doesn't make it. I mean, it's a sport, but it's not like a sport.
Right.
So,
right. We actually did have a game when it was kind of dodgeball, but with frisbees after Tron came out when I was in high school, and we would fill a whole gymnasium of students. There was like literally like 50 or 60 students in there running around, trying not to get whacked in the head by a frisbee that we would chuck at each other at full velocity. People did go to the medical office with bloody noses and stuff, but God, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
so fun.
We should design sports. I take it all back. We should just start
We
designing.
just do it. Bong
sports,
hits
man.
and sports. How about a
Bong-
sport based on the amount of bong hits you can do? Hey,
Yeah,
Scott Jones is online.
Speaking of bong hits, I don't know if maybe it's his ex-wife. I think that's why they broke up.
Hey, Blake, any other questions for Mr. Silverman?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Brandon Casillas on YouTube
Yep.
wants to know, hey Ben, do you still see Jose around town?
I think I heard that one.
You still?
Did he say the J word?
Yeah, he did. You still see Jose around town?
I do. In fact, I saw Jose at GDC. We sat at
Yep.
a table together with you, Victor Lucas, and watched the Game Developers Choice Awards and the IGF Awards, and drank too much wine. And I see him from time to time. I mean, I haven't gone out to as many kind of standard traditional video game preview events, which is typically where I'd see Foobs if we weren't working together.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk. You know,
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I know we're all buds, so it's weird that we're not in a constant state of working together. It's very strange. We've had this unbelievable opportunity to just have this consistency for so long, and it's so rare in television, and it's becoming increasingly rare in the video game space. You know, I mean, people are transitioning and shifting, and positions are closing, and outlets are everything's kind of different and changed from 5-10 years ago. It seems to be much more, individual focused. And sort of individuals are brands, and they're sort of creating their own star around the way this stuff gets covered, and they draw attention to the way that they're doing their stuff, as opposed to these big outlets and these big
Yeah,
brands.
Influencers are eating our lunch. I mean, that's basically the story. And
Yeah.
but I mean, I stay in touch with Scott Jones, and I are tight and have always been really close. So I talk to Scott all the time. Steve Tilley and I were on a Rocket League team together, and we email. He's written for Yahoo.
Yep.
So I really try to stay in touch with everybody. And I think what a lot of people don't know about the video game industry, this side of it, the kind of press side of it, it's small. And everybody knows everybody, and everybody's pretty cool with each other.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for 20 years, and I have friends, not a lot, who are still doing this, but there are some. And we're like war veterans. It feels like we've all been to Vietnam and back. Sorry, by the way, that's totally inappropriate if you actually were in Vietnam. That sucks. But it feels like that. Like we've seen some shit. We've seen some shady press events. We've been, like we've played terrible games. Like it is weirdly a community and of people that are always in touch. So I think Foobs, I imagine, will be, if he's not playing Dark Souls now, we will be texting back and forth, trying to help each other out.
Yep.
Yeah,
and actually, Jose and Blake and I are going to be in Warsaw next week. We're off to cover a World of Tanks event, so we're going to have some stories based on that. I'll probably shoot some kind of content, maybe a review or something like that with Jose in Europe, which is going to be fun.
That's electronic sports, isn't it, Vic?
Yeah, it's eSports. Yes, I'm in your territory. There it is. It's happening.
Esports, it's everywhere.
And it's what's funny is there's a Lawbreakers event happening in that same time frame, and I really want to go and visit those guys. I've never been to North Carolina, but we can't do both. So, we're in each other's worlds all the time. I'm going to be running into you guys at events throughout the course of the year, and we will do more stuff like this. Absolutely. But it is. It's strange, but I think one of the points you touch on is that we don't want to remove ourselves from this industry. It's a really, really awesome, fantastic, phenomenally fun business, and sometimes our positions and our jobs have to kind of shift and change. But how many people do you know that may not be in editorial anymore, but clearly have not left games? They're just doing something else in games.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to leave. I did try to leave at my old company, Game Revolution.
Yeah.
And in 2004 or 5 or something, we sold the company, and I worked there, and then I quit because I couldn't work for the people we sold it to because that sucked. Don't ever own something, sell it, and then work. Like, sell it and go.
Yeah.
And I started freelancing and doing like music writing and writing about television, and I was like, this is great. This is totally my new thing, man. I'm going to write about music. I'm going to write about and then who knows? I'll just be like, I'll work at Pitchfork, or I'll get my band back together and my wife didn't like any of that, but it sounded great to me. And I'm like, this is my new plan, man. This is great. And then all of a sudden I got a call from someone at like UGO who was like, hey, you're on the left coast, like left coast, the West Coast. Yeah. You're on the West Coast. Like there's a Capcom event in San Francisco. Like you wanna go? And I was like, all right, like I need money. And then it's like now that was in 2006. That's 10 more years. It's just.
You got an Al Pacino in you?
You
got an Al Pacino? Every time I try to get...
Every time I come out, they bring me back.
Sounds like your Watto, buddy.
Yeah, it's all one accent. I have one accent. It's an Armenian, Jewish, Italian accent.
I love it. Any other questions, Blake?
Yeah, I have one that's probably good as the last one, I think.
Okay, cool.
It's from Swangor.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, how's it going, Swangor?
Yeah, he wants to know what's the story behind Ben starting to work for EP and Reviews on the Run. I remember for his first review where he threw the game into the dumpster.
Oh, that's awesome. Donnie wants to know what the story is from for you joining our team and your first early days working for EP and Reviews on the Run. How did that all happen from your vantage point?
Well, I paid you a lot of money and some favors.
Right.
Some undercarriage tickle.
I loved it. Loved it every minute.
I don't know. I mean, you probably could speak to it better than I can. From what I recall, Victor and I have been at a lot of different events together over the years. We sort of started our careers around the same time. You were, I think, a year before me or 2 years before me in the industry, and just over time, we just kind of would be at events together. And you're at an event together, you play the game, and then you're all sitting down eating lunch at a table and you talk, and that's just how you get to know people in this industry. And or it's nighttime and you're drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I remember we were at some hotel in Los Angeles, the one with the big crazy tree. It's like in Santa Monica, like a Sheraton or something. It's some Sega event or something.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Nintendo, and I was getting really animated. Like I was super. I don't know what they did, or if they put out some games. This might have been like right when the Wii came out.
Well, maybe music.
Could have been Wii Music. Could have been like they just named it the Wii, and we were all just bullshitting about why they call it the Wii. That sucks. Like why WII? How do you pronounce it? Like we were just all rambling at this table, and I was animated about it. And after that, you like came up to me and you're like, "Hey, would you like to come like film an episode of this show? I think it'd be really good, like being a part of the show." And I was like, yes, of course, that would be awesome." That's it. I mean, that's I think it. I don't think I have any more to offer.
Was that like 2008? Was that just when we moved into our house and you stayed in the basement? Was that the first time that you came up to work with us? Or
no. I stayed in a hotel.
Yeah.
I was just like up and down. I came for like a day.
Right. Yeah.
Shot, and I stayed in a hotel, and I didn't sleep. I was so nervous. You put an Xbox in the hotel room because I needed to play more.
Right,
and I had this like bag of games that I brought up with me, and I was like the night before. And well, there's a whole other story.
Getting past the Canadian the customs people.
Yeah, right? Getting into Canada.
A huge bag of games.
With a bag of video games. They had some questions for me.
Yeah.
And.
It's always a weird. You say I work in video games, and then it can go one of two ways every time. Usually it's like awesome, I love video games. What are you playing right now? But sometimes you're just like, what are you doing video games? What's going on? Let's go talk to you in the back for a little while.
Yeah. Well, you got some games with you, man. You're like, I'm smuggling, fucking Fantastic Four on the Wii to Canada. Got me.
Yeah.
Take me away.
Honestly, I've had to travel with systems for big chunks of my career, and there was only ever one time where they said I couldn't bring the game systems through. And so I had to sit with the U.S. guys for a while, and then we just talked about it. It's like, guys, I'm reviewing these games. I need these machines to be. I'm not selling them. I'm not bringing them down. They totaled up what they would all be worth. It's unbelievable.
No, for a long time, nobody believed this was an actual job. For a long time, this wasn't an actual job.
Yes.
And then it's sort of when we both started, it was the beginnings of this. I mean, I technically, PC Gamer and CGW, and then magazines before that had been, of course, been around since the 80s. But they were small compared to sort of what happened when the internet blew up, and then all those magazines got big and had websites too. So we were there sort of right when this became a viable career. Yeah. Now you can say I review video games or I play League of Legends professionally, and no one bats an eye. They're like, of course, you're one of those guys. So I think it was just to answer the question. It was like right place, right time.
Yep.
Just I've always loved Vic. I've always loved the show. I've always loved his passion for the industry, and his optimism, which are things that you don't find much. You find, at least you don't find it that's that honest. I mean, you really love this stuff and you really have a passion for it. And I'm not always like that. I'm sort of I like to call myself a cynical optimist. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
optimistic, but I always sort of am like, eh. And I thought it would be an interesting dynamic to work with you, and it's been interesting is nowhere near strong enough of a word. It's been amazing. And,
It's I found it incredibly easy to get into any topic with you, and I feel like we have these huge long conversations every time we get to see each other. It's not often enough,
yeah,
but yeah, I love working with you, and you've been a huge creative force in our programming and in our company, and God damn it, we're going to be doing some more of it soon, even if it comes down to lots of internet connection this way. But I know that the viewers have always loved you on the show. You've always been a perfect fit. And you did make an impression right away by throwing a Fantastic Four game into the garbage on your very first day. But you always have great insight and great sense of humor, and it's that's what I've been really good at, is hiring fantastic people, and you one of those, buddy. You are awesome.
it's very sweet. It's
Yeah.
true. You are really good at hiring fantastic people. Thank you. I
Uh,
know I am fantastic. So
you
that's
are. You are fantastic.
the
Fantastic.
Fantastic Four.
Yes, we
This is
we
exactly
connected
why
all of it.
it's perfect.
All right. Any other comments or questions, Blake?
No, that was the last one.
Okay, that was the last one. Ben, I'm going to let you go, my friend. It has been a pleasure catching up with you. Let's do this again very soon, maybe after we've had a little bit of the spring fever with all the games that are going to be coming out over the next little while, and the hype and the lead up to E3. I would actually love to, if we're going to, are you going to be doing the pre-E3 thing?
I hope so. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I talked to our mutual friend
Yep.
runs that show at the GDC, and it sounds like that's still going to happen. I think each year that show, the pre E3 thing has sort of, we're never really sure if it's going to keep going or what it's going to look like each
Yep.
year. I've heard that it's still going to happen, but I haven't gotten myself set up for it yet. But I think so.
Well, we the last few times that we've been doing that, we've been able to, because Steve Tilley usually joins us on that, so we've been able to coordinate some fun conversations around that. So let's plan to do that.
Yeah.
If not something sooner, and continue to have fun with your new adventure there, my friend. Proud of you.
Esports,
Esports.
esports,
Maybe we should say it like esports.
esports, esports.
You rock, Ben Silverman. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone that's been tuning in to the Vic Spaceman today. Really appreciate you, and thank you for your comments and your support. And yeah, please feel free to comment under this. We're reading everything, and we'll respond, and we love you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back soon. And Stitcher!